Okay, everyone, I am so excited about today's Forget Perfect leadership interview. I have Claude Silver. She is the Chief Heart Officer for VaynerX. Claude, welcome.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here with you today.
I'm excited to see where our conversation goes. I have questions, but I'm probably not going to look at them. So we're just going to organically go where the conversation um, takes us. So I'd love to just, if you could give a quick kind of like snapshot of your career journey for those that are listening and don't know, that would be great.
Sure thing, because well, pay attention because it's not linear. That
Oh
is what I will
no.
say. I started in this wide world of digital, social, all of the above, way back in the internet.com boom, the first one. So this is
Okay.
1998 in San Francisco. I was at a few startups because that's what you did. It was the
Mhm.
wild, wild west. It was hands on everything.
Mhm.
And when 9/11 happened, many of us were laid off at that time. And my friend and I then decided, okay, well, what can we teach? Oh, I had been an outward bound instructor. I knew how to teach rock
Okay.
climbing, surfing. She knew how to do this and that. We started a company called Girls Adventure Out in San Francisco, where I probably spent almost 300, 275 days in the cold Pacific Ocean wearing a
Okay.
wetsuit. I had a great tan from the
Yeah.
neck up and from the wrist down, obviously. That's why I've got some skin marks, I think, or
Yeah.
freckles here from. And so we did that for 5 years. I pushed people into
Wow.
the water and taught surfing, rock climbing, tennis, all that stuff. And then we sold the company. It's still around, by the way. He just
Oh,
took off.
amazing.
He took the name Girls off. It's still Adventure Out.
Okay.
He teaches out of Santa Cruz, California. And I went back into whatever I knew, which was this world of kind of project management, digital, and started my career in advertising agencies. When I tell you, I had no idea how a print ad, a TV ad,
Oh
an
yeah.
online ad was made. I knew nothing. And I will say that was at, 35 years old or so. And so I've been in this world of digital now for a very long time, advertising agency to agency to
Yep.
agency. And finally, one day when I was in San Francisco, I was running a team and doing a lot of UX work
Okay.
and information architecture work. I got a call from the CEO of JWT London.
Okay.
And the call went like this in a very posh accent, which I won't do. I hear we need someone with your skill sets. And at that time, I had enough self-confidence to say, when do you need me? Had he asked me 5 years earlier, 10 years earlier, I would
Yeah.
have said, what skill sets are those? You would have gotten small Claude,
Right.
but you got big Claude. And off I went. And I was in London for 4 years as a strategist
Amazing.
working on every brand that you see in Walgreens or Walmart. And
Yeah.
then I was introduced to Gary Vaynerchuk, who's my boss now. And I met him on a phone call in August of 2013. And by May of 2014, I was in New York and I have not looked back since. I'm still with Gary Vaynerchuk at VaynerX. It's been 12 years and some pivots within that as well.
That's amazing. Um, so obviously your title, like, tell us about what your title entails, the Chief Heart Officer.
Yeah. Well, the first thing I would say is it entails everything that has to do with humans and being human, especially in the workplace. Okay, what does that mean? That means caring for yourself. That
Yeah.
means paying attention to your own emotions and emotionally regulating. That means wanting growth and figuring out how to get there. Teamwork, team dynamics, conflict resolution, feedback. I spend an awful lot of time in one-on-ones and then in group
Okay.
dynamics. I also spend a lot of time strategizing on our global growth.
Yeah.
Everything has to do with this person. Who is this person? Have we given them what we told them we would, which would be growth opportunities at bats, exciting things? Have they given us their energy, their curiosity, their time? And bottom line, when I took the role, Gary and I created the role in March of 2015. I said to him, what are we building here? And he said, we are building the single greatest human organization in the history of time. Okay, sign me up.
Yeah.
Aspirational. And then I said, how do we know if I'm successful? There's no job description, still no
Right.
job description. And he said, you will touch every single human being and infuse the agency with empathy. And so that is my job in every conversation I have. How am I making this person feel safe, making
Yeah.
them feel heard, making them feel like they matter, even if it's a challenging conversation?
Yeah. Yeah. Gosh, there's so many ways this
There's
conversation
so
could
much
go.
there. I
I
know.
know. I think I'm really interested in how you infuse empathy at scale.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's the million dollar, billion dollar question. So this is how I've chosen to do it. And I will take suggestions all the time. Touch every single human being and infuse the agency with empathy is a very, very lofty, lofty goal. What that means is I need to make sure in every conversation, that's who I am showing up as.
Okay.
I need to find other people in this agency who are like that, who have a heart to help, that are interested in giving their time and energy to others. I call them champions. I call them culture champions, not culture carriers, culture champions.
Okay.
Also, one of the first things I did in the role was I had to create what you and I would call an HR department. Now, I never worked in HR, so I
Yeah.
created it based on common sense. We are taking care of people
Right.
and the experience they have, as well as the company. And I call the team the People and Experience Team, PET. It's global. And so as I hired people and hired people that knew HR, because I didn't, I had to learn it, I made sure that not only did they know the science of HR, they were humans and they understood how important psychological safety is, how important it is to be in relationship and to make another person feel that they have space to just say what they wanted. And that
Yeah.
has scaled. There's about 45 people now globally. And that's also recruiting, and that's also benefits and
Yeah.
payroll, but it's also what you and I would call HR business partners.
Okay.
Um, and then, the leadership team is one that we've worked hard on, really coming from a place of we, not I.
Yeah.
And so there's all kinds of ways. It's a jambalaya. I'm going to get on Slack later, check out some people, see how they're doing. And if I feel like the person I speak to on Slack in Amsterdam might need a little bit of a boost and I can't reach them today with the time zone, I'm
Right.
probably going to reach out to someone in Amsterdam or London, a culture champion, to
Yeah.
touch base with them.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love that.
Thank you.
Because one of the things that I've been experimenting with is I feel like one of the most like successful programs in organizations are manufacturing firms and their safety programs.
Yes.
I mean, they're non-negotiable. They, have morning huddles. You open every single meeting with even the corporate office employees, not just frontline employees. You open every meeting with a safety tip. In the manufacturing firm, it says, 365 days without an accident. Um,
That's
and so,
huge. Oh my God, that's huge.
for me, it's about like, how do you apply that to a psychological safety program?
Yeah. I
Like
mean,
the same really systematized approach. Um, like how do you like because that is so successful. So applying that same approach. And so I've been working on like that and helping organizations think through it, like going from trust being a sentiment to an actual system.
mhm. I love that you said that. It's something that I shared on LinkedIn the other day, which really marries with what you said. Trust has to be the bedrock,
Right,
and you can't manufacture trust from a book,
right.
and you can't snap your fingers. It happens with connection. It happens with someone feeling safe enough to share something, safe enough that they won't get attacked, and it does, I think it takes a lot of intention
Yes,
to do that, especially at scale, and
right,
especially when you might be on a screen
Right.
Those people might be on an assembly line or might be in another country.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's we've been doing these like we've been creating trust operating systems for
love
organizations,
that. Yeah.
which are like five values for where they are currently with trust, and then what are the behaviors, what are the KPIs, scorecards, all of that. So we've been experimenting with departments within organizations and then using that success to like spread it.
Yeah.
out. Um,
You just mentioned kind of the magic word, which is KPIs, which is something I get asked all the time. Okay, well, this is all great, Claude, but what's the KPI of being kind in the workplace? What's the KPI of trust in the workplace? And obviously, what I want to say is, well, what's not? Like,
right,
hello. But we are starting to find other ways to measure aside from less absenteeism, right? Aside
right.
from more word of mouth referrals and more creativity
Yes,
and innovation. There are studies out there now that really talk about engagement and
right.
employee happiness. And of course, you and I are sitting here like, uh-huh, yes, being kind pays off. Being kind builds everything. But,
Right,
sometimes the people that have the purse want to know the actual
right.
metrics.
Yes, I've been doing a better job of like attaching trust to business outcomes.
Yeah.
Because I'm a feeler, not a
No, no surprise that we're here.
I'm
Yeah.
a feeler. And so I'm learning to speak in a, like I know it works. I know from my experience in corporate America, I know from the results we achieve for our clients. But yes, I've been better about that. So yes, answering those questions. So before we hit record, we were talking about um, like the speed of life.
Hmm.
Um, and now I've never experienced anything like it. And just the impact of that it's having on everyone and no one is safe from the speed of life.
No.
And so I'd love for you to talk about like how do we prioritize kindness and empathy and authenticity and all the things you talk about in your book and that you preach and you practice in your real life? Like how do we prioritize it in this age of like a breakneck pace?
Yeah. How do we prioritize kindness and empathy and compassion and gratitude and grace and all of those things? It has to be natural. It has to come naturally from you. It
Yeah,
it can't be faked or forced. People are way too savvy to understand when someone is being fake. And so, my question is, what is preventing us from finding that kindness towards another person? Are we able to give kindness to ourselves? That would be my first
right,
question. Have you looked in the mirror today and at least acknowledged that you are alive and thank you for that? Or have you completely scurried off of that and gotten into your work? It has to start from within and it is really difficult. It's a journey. And so it's not, just because you and I both have young children, just because we are teaching them kindness and how to share and I'm teaching my kids please and thank you right now, does not mean when they get to be 22 they're going to necessarily remember that
right,
because so much life and school and cognitive learning will have taken place.
right,
So it has to be a priority for you. That has to be how I want to live my life from a place of love. I
right.
made that decision. Claude Silver,
Yeah,
I made that decision right around the time I was 25. And it
amazing.
came from going to see Marianne Williamson live in San
Oh
Francisco.
yeah.
And she said, there are two emotions, fear and love. If you are not in love, you are living in fear. And I said to myself, I want to live in love. And it's a practice. And at some point, just like riding a bike, you don't have to think about it anymore. It's who you are.
Yeah. Gosh, I love that. Um, I one of the things I've been thinking about is like I think eventually we're going to get to a space where like the or get to a place where like the ROI of people having space in the workplace is going to be higher than the ROI of productivity.
I think that's genius because there is no more space.
Right.
We've capped out. Yes, you can have a meditation room. Yes, you can have a quiet space. At some point, that meditation room will get taken. At some
Right.
point, it's because this requirement and this push to find results, which means being
Yeah.
proactive and productive, is at an all-time high. The rate of change and growth, the amount of, we're in the age of AI now.
Right.
Every day it seems like there's another, something else, another agent that's come out, a new, you can do this with
Right.
Claude or Gemini. And it's very difficult to keep up with all of that, unless that's your full-time job, which
Right.
it's not. So,
Yeah.
how do we find space for ourselves? And is that really when we have 2 minutes to run to the restroom? Sometimes that's it for me.
Right.
And
Right.
that's, I'm guilty of that myself. That's not enough.
Yeah. Yeah. I read the book Essentialism, and it's all about like editing your life, and the power of doing less versus more. And it's just such a hard thing. Like I felt like I did really well the beginning of this year. Like I was more present with my kids. I was prioritizing that. And then it just can switch
Yeah, it can
night,
switch.
you know?
It can switch. And then
Daily
at some
practice.
point, yeah, some point you'll catch yourself or someone will catch you. Someone that you love and trust will say, you haven't been present at the dinner table, or my kids will definitely remind me of when I'm using the phone too much.
Yes. Yes, my teenager will for sure. Um, you also talk about like the power of presence. Do you
Hmm.
mind talking more about that?
Yeah. Well, that's a wonderful segue, as I say. My kids tell me to put my
Yeah.
phone down. I mean, well, you and I were actually talking about this before we got on the call, which was really noticing the little things
Yeah.
in life, the subtle things in life, the beauty in life, and how difficult it can be to notice the flowers, to notice the bird singing in the air, to notice someone being kind to someone.
Right.
And so I don't want to say you have to slow down to speed up. I don't want to say that. But what I do want to share is being present, I think, and finding that moment or moments in your day to be present is a real gift to give yourself. And so, whether or not that is right now the 2 minutes you can spend in the bathroom grounding because you are busy, in your commute, which is where I get a lot of my downtime,
Okay.
right? I get to just be Claude. I'm not with the kids. I might be in traffic, but that's okay for me
Yeah.
because at
Yeah.
least I'm with myself. Um, putting your feet on the ground, doing what my kids call mountain breathing or candle breathing. I mean, there's so many different techniques right now. That's great, but you want to find one or two that you can do that just bring you back to right now, right here, what's happening. And so
Yeah.
when I'm with someone, if I'm with someone, whether or not it's in Zoom or on a room and they're starting to spin, what I'll ask them to do is just close their eyes and then, take three breaths in, three breaths out. And as soon as you open your eyes, tell me what you see. Tell me what you hear. Tell me what you smell. And that right there slows everything down.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I also think I know this kind of I think that presence also needs to be scheduled.
Yeah.
I know that sounds terrible, just in the life that we are, but I
Yeah.
call them presence anchors.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like whether it's your morning gratitude journaling,
Yeah.
or I have a non-negotiable date every weekend with my teenager. Like
Beautiful.
it's a presence anchor,
Yeah.
like
Beautiful. Yeah.
phone in the car, present,
Yes.
like I don't know. Sometimes I feel like the presence, like I know in a one-on-one with a team member, like that is a moment for presence.
That is a moment for presence, and you are there to create and hold space for another person. What my 7-year-old likes to do is play cards. And so this morning we played 2 rounds of Go Fish. Last night we played 2 rounds of Crazy Eights. No phone,
Right.
and just playing a game, playing cards.
And those micro moments that you're fully present, are so much better than like being half present for a longer period of time.
Yeah.
Like really just those micro moments.
So it's so important. And so I do get it about scheduling. Like she and I have this routine. I didn't realize she she made a routine out of it for herself, but at 7 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah.
I make coffee, she gets chocolate milk. We go back to her room and either we play cards or we
Yeah.
play, imaginary play with the dolls or whatever.
Yeah.
But that is our routine. And
That's really sweet.
yeah,
The
she
presence
really,
anchor.
yeah, love it. That's our anchor of how we start our day.
I love that. Um, I think too, one of the things I'm interested in talking about is how perfectionism interrupts authenticity and empathy and really all the things that we're talking about.
Yeah, all the things there. I'll tell you a little story. There was a gentleman that I worked with at Vayner years ago that wonderful guy, strategist, and it turned out that really very few people wanted to work with him. And as I started to meet with these people and they would tell me what was happening, I thought, okay, there's a pattern here I need to talk to him about. What was happening to these with these people is they felt that every time they would present him a deck, a document, a scope, instead of looking for anything great, he would immediately point out the errors. He would immediately ask them a question which made them second guess and whatnot. Now he was more senior to them. So one day I had him and I said, yeah, just tell me about yourself. Like, it seems like you are a person that really strives for perfection. Where did that come from? Well, he was a D1 swimmer. Okay. A
Yeah.
Division one swimmer. Perfection for them is in microseconds.
Mhm.
And they train and train and train to be perfect.
Right.
That is very different than you and I writing a PowerPoint deck where there will be a spelling mistake, there will be something out of line of the margins, there will just be a human whoopsie. But as you are an athlete excelling at a sport, you have to be excellent to be a D1 swimmer.
Right.
And so that's where, he backed up. He told me that his parents had really pushed him hard to be a swimmer and so forth and so on. And it made so much sense. So the work with him was how can we defuse that a little bit in the workplace and understand that you're not working with other D1 competitors.
Right.
You're
Yeah.
working with people that want that next promotion.
Right. Well, and the perfectionism is so deep for everyone.
Yeah.
It's a childhood wound. It's athleticism. It's, you were bullied in middle school. And
Yeah.
like, okay, well, I'm going to show up perfectly to avoid the pain
Yeah.
of the
Exactly.
bullying. It's a deep, and it's so painful that 20, 30, whatever years later, we can still be using the same coping mechanism if we
Hmm.
don't like look deeply. Like when like how I define perfectionism is it's when we do things for love instead of from love.
Mm, that's great. I love it.
We're achieving for love, right?
Yeah.
We're um stay in relationships past their expiration for love. It shows up in like a myriad of ways, and then it
Yeah.
shows up in the workplace.
Oh, it sure does. And I think it shows up in how we treat one another.
Oh
Yeah,
gosh.
clearly, clearly. And can we stay present in those moments? It's very difficult for any of us to regulate our emotions and then speak, make that choice and figure out how we want to speak to that person that interrupted us 5 times in that meeting, or that came in late, or that looked at their phone the entire time during the
Right,
meeting. Like, what do we want to say that is not going to be shaming, but it's going to be honest?
right.
And,
Yeah,
and with that honesty, with that candor, has empathy in it.
right,
Because you and I don't know how they started their day, but they surely did not wake up and turn on a computer. They had some hours before that, most
right.
likely. And those hours not only could have affected them in positive or challenging ways, but their life that preceded that.
Yeah,
Obviously, to your point, there's triggers. We're all triggered.
yeah. So, I know emotional intelligence is something you're big on. And, again, like how we lead others is a reflection of how we lead ourselves. So always, again, you were saying like, be kind. Are you being kind to yourself,
Yeah.
first and foremost? So I'd love to know, because you said that love has become a practice, leading your life from love has become a practice. But how do you practice that? How do you teach that within your organization? How do you all prioritize that? I know it's a lot of
Well,
questions, but
yeah, well, it's certainly a part of our values. I mean, when Gary started the organization 17 years ago now, he came from a place of the things he cares about, which is family, which is empathy and kindness and goodness and gratitude. And accountability is a big one for him.
yeah,
So he started the company with those roots. When I came in 5 years later, so the company was 5 years old at that time, I had the opportunity to take those roots, nurture those roots, and spread them.
right.
And so when you start, like today, every Monday, I have orientation with brand new people who have been hired, and today is their first day. And I like to be there on their first day. They can be from anywhere in the world, and we go through our culture, who we are, what our beliefs are, and what our behaviors are,
Yeah,
and get that into the system immediately. And my hope and my, fingers crossed is that then they go to their team and they see that replicated, which I would say most of the time they do, because
right.
people will come to me 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, gosh, I thought the honeymoon would end, but it's just people are so helpful here. People just want to,
Yeah,
help me out. And it's like, yes, that's who we are. We are a network of collaborative people
yeah,
all
yeah,
over the world. So you have to be feeding that though.
yeah. And you all are modeling it. More
We
times
are
than
modeling
more times than not, I come across an organization that wants to work on building trust and prioritize it. And I'm like, well, are the senior leaders willing to? Because I won't
it. Yeah.
engage otherwise. Like
Yeah.
I've seen senior leader teams that it's like, I need everyone else to be trustworthy.
Yeah.
Um,
It's crazy. You're just reminding me of my dream last night, which is wild, that I was in a dream and I was going to a CHRO conference like I do many, many
yeah,
times. And this woman came in. I was the first one to arrive, and this woman came in and she said immediately, I don't think that HR should be a department of love. I don't believe anything that you're saying. And in my dream, I was like, okay, can you tell me why? And she explained that she thought as an HR practitioner, she needed to be in defense of the company. She needed
yeah.
to have the company. And through the dream, I don't know what happened, but she changed.
Awesome.
Changed. And she became very vulnerable in the dream and told us, more of why she wasn't, um, why she was so hesitant to be herself.
Yeah,
Anyway, that was a dream, but gosh, that happens a million times a day, I'm sure, across the world.
right. You can actually protect the company better from love.
Exactly.
You can actually, you can achieve your goals
Yeah.
better through
From
love,
love.
accountability, all of those things.
Yeah, whatever love is. Years and years ago, maybe, I don't know, 12, 11 years ago, I was at Vayner, but I went back to London and I was doing, a talk on
Mhm.
kindness in the workplace, and I used the word love. And this woman came up to me after I got off the stage, and she said, we don't use the word love in the workplace. And I said, I don't mean intimate love, right? She's like, well, we still don't use the word love. And I said, okay, well, maybe you can replace it with kindness. Meanwhile, I had lived in London for those years prior. And yes, it is a very different culture, a workplace culture,
Right.
but there is warmth in there.
Yeah. 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 Whichever word is going to get you
Whatever floats
to
your
the
boat.
result, to the
Yeah,
result.
I agree.
Um, so I feel like as leaders, we're always growing. Obviously, always things to learn. Like, where is there like books you're reading or things that where you're wanting to grow in this phase or season of your
Gosh,
life?
yes. Oh my goodness. Yes. I feel like, writing the book took me a very long time, and it occupied all my brain cells for
Oh, yeah.
almost 3 years. And once the book came out and I launched it, all of a sudden I had more space in my brain and I became hungrier to learn.
Okay.
So things that I'm looking into are neurolinguistics. I'm looking into. I'm also
Okay.
interested in peak performance and how different people achieve that or teach that or coach that.
Okay.
I've always been fascinated in the world of psychedelics and psychedelic
Yeah.
therapy. I think that's just fascinating to me, and I've heard incredible success stories around that.
Yeah.
And I'm interested, I've always been interested in teamwork and team dynamics, and I think
Yeah.
I have I have space now in my brain to really dive into that. So, you know, the books I'm reading, I listen to a lot of memoirs and a lot of
Okay.
autobiographies. It could be from anyone from Al Pacino to Golda Meir to, Christina Applegate. It can be anything.
Yeah.
But listen, I like to learn from people's stories. I think that's a great place to come from. And then when I listen to podcasts, most of the time it's going to be something from like Krista Tippett or On Being or
Yeah.
TED or maybe Brene Brown or
Yeah.
something that's going to not only teach me, it's going to encourage me on the path that I'm on.
Yeah.
And I am a person that as much as I feel like I live from this place, I still need encouragement and reminders of why this is so important. Esther Perel,
Yes.
phenomenal person to listen to of how she's taken psychotherapy and a lot of the dynamics of relationships and related that to the workplace.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. It's all powerful. I feel like we could go on and on
Yeah.
for a very long time,
Yeah.
but I love if we closed with um, maybe a quote or like a piece of advice that's you'd like to leave people with in this kind of season, things to think about.
Well, there's two, I would say. The first one is something very near and dear to me and one that I was challenged with in my early years. You are always allowed to take up space. That is a birthright.
Right.
You are always allowed. You can figure out how that is going to manifest, but we are all allowed to take up space. That is huge. You do not need to shrink so someone else shines. That is the first one I want to say, and that's
Okay.
incredibly important. The second one is find evidence that you are doing a good job. Find evidence that you are a good person, a good leader. Evidence can be anything from someone that you mentor said thank you today.
Yeah.
You've been at your job 10 years, you've been promoted, and you are now in a people function. It can, find evidence because the evidence of why you are good, why you matter, will combat the imposter syndrome inside that tells you that you're not good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
find the evidence, and it's not hard to find. You just have to be very driven to find the positives and not look at the negatives and the judgment that you have on yourself.
Yes. Yes. It's a choice
Of course.
and a mindset. Well, thank
Yeah.
you so much for your time today. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you.
Oh, I appreciate you. Thank
I'm
you.
excited for everyone to listen.
Me too.